Brazil is a growing and successful economy, but is inequality a big problem in the country?
Yes, I would say it's the largest problem. There is this tendency of looking at Brazil as a successful case of economic growth, and it is true. But once we look more in depth, we see that Brazil, even though growing, even though having a dynamic economy, we still have a very hierarchical social structure, which means that we have one of the largest inequality levels in the world.
What inspired you to do this research with Christian Aid?
The idea was to show the other side of this picture. That means that Brazil, as a part of BRICS, is seen everywhere as like a good case, a role model for the rest of the poor world. But also Brazil and the other BRIC countries as well, they have poverty and inequality in China and India is increasing. In the case of Brazil, it reduced a bit, but it is still much larger than in China and India. And Brazil, like if we put together the 20 largest economies of the world, Brazil has the worst levels of inequality.
In this research, was inequality found to be a cause of poor health and social outcomes?
Yeah, we took the index of health and social outcomes from the spirit level, the methodology, and we applied it to the Brazilian case. We looked across the 27 states of Brazil, and there is a correlation.
What can you tell me about inequality and access to land?
Even though small landowners has been having access, the government Lula tried to move forward agrarian reform, but this is like what the government tried to do with some public policies. The market forces are much stronger than that. So we can 2% of landowners have more than 60% of the total amount of land, and that's even getting worse. In this respect, the concentration of wealth is getting even worse.
Did you find racial inequality and gender inequality to be a problem?
Yeah, it is a problem. It is still a problem. It has always been a problem in Brazil. We can say if we look at the data, we can see that it has gotten a little better. Because of these people, especially if we talk about race and also the women, they are at the bottom of the income structure. So they tend to get the minimum wage, which has been increased in Brazil. Because of that, the difference between the segments are lower, but it's still very high. So, and then once we look at access of education and access of social policies, this discrimination, this unfair distribution is even larger.
Why is progress in addressing inequality so difficult?
I would say that it's one of the cornerstones of Brazilian society. It's very hierarchical. We have economic elites and even political elites that even though we have been consolidating our democracy, people vote, people have rights, but once we look at the decision level, these groups, they sort of have a control. We have lots of poor in the bottom, lots of surplus labor, and we have a tax system that, supports inequality, I would say.
Is inequality a problem only for the poor, or is it a problem for the development of the whole country?
Yeah, it's a problem for everybody. I would say that with less inequality, Brazil would be able to have a stronger economy, a safer society, a less violent society, revenues, the budget would increase, and the country would be able, the government would be able to invest more in social policies, and we would have a more dynamic internal market. Brazil has to face two challenges at the same time. We need to grow, to increase income per capita, especially in poor states, and at the same time, fight inequality. So that's a very complex situation, and that's quite a big challenge that we've got to face in the next 20 years.